Our world is so electrified now that going totally off-grid isn't something you can actually do anymore. Even when going camping, you'll be taking electronics with you, and you'll want to keep them charged up. In today's video, we're going to show you our picks for power stations to load up. First up, what does a good power station need to do? While these power stations are the best ones in our opinion, you could go past our list for something different. That being said, power stations are vital, and you want to make sure you get the right one for your needs. There are a couple of things that you should make absolutely sure of when picking a power station. The biggest consideration for a power station is size, both literal and in capacity. Physical size is important because you have to carry this thing to your destination and back, and you do want to make sure that your power station can output enough juice to last you through your trip. The bigger the power station, though, the higher its capacity will be, and the capacity you need will depend on what devices you're taking with you. Devices in this case don't just mean your phones and computers, but also any lights and electric stoves and such that you'll be keeping around. Past that, you also want to look at some of the finer details. Weatherproofing is nice to have in a power station. Ports are important too, making sure you're getting USB-C, USB-A, household, and other ports. Also consider how long the power station takes to charge, because you'll definitely want to charge it up to full before the trip, and that's something you'll have to plan for. We're going to be looking at power stations from a camping perspective, but it's always a good idea to kill as many birds as you can with one stone. Power stations are good for more than just camping. They can be useful on road trips too, and they're definitely great for power outages. There are stations out there that can work as uninterruptible power supplies, or UPSs, and can power most of your household during an outage. Just something to consider when weighing up the different stations against each other. Now, on to the recommendations. Next, Jackery Explorer 1000. Recommending Jackery's Explorer 1000 is pretty much a given in lists like these, so we'll get it out of the way first. It's a pick that's hard to beat unless you need something even more capable. The sturdy build and relatively light weight at 22 pounds makes you underestimate the true capabilities of the Explorer 1000, but don't be deceived. This thing has a 1000 watt-hour battery and a maximum output of 1000 watts. You'd have a pretty hard time challenging the Explorer 1000. Charging phones and computers? Don't worry about it. High-powered lamps? No sweat. Are you a snorer, planning on bringing your CPAP machine with you? That's only crazy if you have something other than a Jackery Explorer 1000. This thing is built not just for camping trips, but for people who want to live off the grid in general. It gets even better. Jackery also sells a solar panel array that can connect to the Explorer 1000 and power it. We think that getting full-size solar panels is going off the scope of camping, but you could do it if you wanted to. The only knock against the Jackery is its price tag, which is a little high. It's not impossible to get this level of capability at a lower price. And naturally, if you're traveling with a big family or larger group in general, you may want to consider bigger and badder power stations, including the Explorer 1500. But if the Jackery Explorer 1000 is right for you, it's one of the safest bets on the list. It's honestly the standard by which we find ourselves comparing all the other power stations on this list. And now, Jackery Explorer 300. If you want the robustness of the Explorer 1000, but don't quite need that size or capacity, Jackery makes a smaller option too. As you can tell from the name, the Explorer 300 has a max power output of 300 watts and a battery capacity of 293 watt-hours. This wouldn't last you through a weekend or anything, and it doesn't even have the outlets to make that happen. But it's a solid choice if you're just spending a day or a night at your spot. With that in mind, this thing only weighs 7 pounds, so pretty much anyone can carry it around without trouble. Like the Explorer 1000 though, it's a little pricey for what you get, but this is still the same quality and reliability that Jackery is known for. Up next, Anker Powerhouse 2 800. We know what you're thinking. Isn't Anker the company that makes power banks? It's true that Anker isn't exactly known for large electronics like this, but if you think about it, what is a power bank if not a tiny power station? The Powerhouse 2 800 is definitely built for the job of going camping. You won't worry much about breaking this thing, and while its max output is lower than the Explorer 1000, the battery capacity is almost as good at 800 watt-hours. Although what you lose in battery capacity and output, you don't exactly gain in size and weight savings. The Powerhouse is just about as big and heavy as the Explorer 1000. The good news is that it sports more outlets, and true to their reputation, has tons of USB-C and USB-A ports. It's also a lot cheaper than the Jackery while being almost as capable, which makes it very appealing indeed. And now, Westinghouse iGen 160s. This would be another option for a shorter trip, and it's the most budget-friendly option on our list. With a 155 watt-hour battery and a 100 watt max output, we wouldn't recommend this for anything longer than overnight camp, but it's good at what it does. There's a good selection of ports and a built-in flashlight, which is a lot more than you usually get at this price point. It's light, sturdy, and carries the Westinghouse guarantee of reliable performance. Power stations like this one show that you don't have to spend a lot to get something good, but you do want to be careful if you're trying to save. At this price point, we would actually suggest that every household have one of these on hand, even if they aren't planning on going camping anytime soon. It could be a companion for short road trips and a lifesaver during a power outage. Next on the list is EcoFlow Delta Mini. What if we told you that you could have around 90% of the battery capacity of the Explorer 1000 in a smaller package. You might have a hard time believing it, but it's true. The EcoFlow Delta Mini has a beefy 882 watt-hour battery that can do as much as 1800 watts in power output in a package that's smaller than the Explorer 1000. While it is a pound heavier than the Explorer, it's actually a little adorable in size. This thing will be totally unobtrusive in your trunk, and you can stick it basically anywhere on site. The EcoFlow is versatile too, with a pretty generous selection of ports, and it can charge up to fill in around 2 hours when connected to a wall outlet. At a decent price that matches the Anker, this is a pretty solid option. We would have liked to see an emergency light on this station, but really, you should be packing your own if you're going camping. Lastly, EcoFlow Delta Pro. We've talked about a few power stations and weighed up their pros and cons, but what if you're the sort who doesn't care about all that? What if you're super serious about power stations and want something with no compromises? Introducing EcoFlow's Delta Pro station. At $3,599, this thing costs more than every other option on this list combined, but you wanted no compromises, and this thing delivers. A 3,600 watt-hour battery that can output a max of 3,600 watts, ports for days, multiple options for fast charging. This thing has it all. It must be said that this station is heavy, but it does have wheels to make your life easier. It's also not as big as you might expect from the numbers we mentioned before, but when it comes to capabilities, this is pretty much the alpha and the omega of portable power stations, even if it does stretch the definition of portability a bit. We should also mention that if you do invest in the Delta Pro, you're getting more than just a power station for camping. EcoFlow has built an ecosystem around the Delta Pro, including the ability to link multiple Delta Pros together to achieve a maximum capacity of 25 kilowatt hours and 7,200 watt max output. Also sold separately is the Smart Home Panel, which allows you to connect your Delta Pro array to your home's electronics. What you end up with is a UPS that will charge when you have power and kick in when the power goes out, and it can be managed with the EcoFlow app. And for one final measure, you can hook up your Delta Pro array to a solar array and send your electricity provider on a camping trip far, far away. Our opinion is that the Delta Pro is pretty overkill if all you want is to go camping. You might consider it for all the other benefits that it provides, though, if you have the budget for a Delta Pro and its ecosystem of devices. That wraps up our power station recommendations for today. Which one are you going to pick? Tell us about it and the trip you're going to take it on. Write your story in the comments below and make sure to like, share, and subscribe.